Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. Well, let me ask you a question. Do you have a watch or watches in your collection that make you just want to stare at them? Make you look down and think, wow, look at that dial. Isn't that amazing? Is there some unique feature to it, some nice color, some sunburst to it, something that just draws your attention in and makes you just want to stare at it, makes you want to look at it, and makes you think, wow, that is amazing. Well, for me, it is my Seiko Samurai Save the Ocean Great White Shark Edition. This watch is beautiful. I like the watch itself, being the Samurai, but it's the dial that really pops for me. It makes me want to look at this watch, it draws me in, and I stare at it a lot. And I have said previously that this is my favorite Seiko, and it is true, it is my favorite. I love the Samurai, I love all the components of it, I like how it looks and feels and is used, but really it's the dial on this one that pops, that makes me absolutely think that is my favorite Seiko. And it did really make me start to think about what other dials are out there on the market that really draw my attention and make me think, wow. And it is that idea that has then formed this particular video. Over the last few months, whenever I've been online looking at watches, if a dial has stood out to me that has really popped in my opinion, I've taken a screenshot, stuck it in a folder, and I've forgotten about it. And I've done this over and over again until I've come up with 10 amazing watch dials that make me really think, wow, they are fantastic. And they're the ones I want to share with you today. And what better watch to start off this particular video than the watch that inspired the video itself, the Great White Shark, my Samurai, which has this beautiful blue sunburst 3D effect wave pattern on the dial. And there's a few reasons why I love it so much. I love the 3D texture of it. I like the pattern. It is subtle, yet still interesting and complex. I love the little token shark fin in there that inspires the Great White Shark Edition name. And I love the color. Depending on where you put this one in the light, you get from a light blue through to a dark blue, and it really does make me think of the ocean. And being a Save the Ocean edition, it is absolutely the perfect color, and it is really mesmerizing. I absolutely adore it. Number 2 on this list is a Citizen, and I've got a couple of Citizens in this list. I've never actually owned a Citizen, but I do want to change that, and this watch here really pops to me. Probably a little bit slightly out of my price range at the moment, but wow, what a dial. And as you'll see, it's an interesting blue dial. You'll probably see a few blue dials in here. Blue is my favorite color, so it does draw me in a little bit, but this one is particularly stunning. And this is done through a bit of different effects. There is like a silver foil that is put onto the dial of the watch. There is then some pigment, those sort of different colors and different shades of colors that are applied. And then there's a special lacquer coating that is then put on top. And all that comes together to create this amazing effect, this amazing looking dial. Now this one in particular is called the Citizen MB1060-12L. It is the blue one. There is a white one as well, I think, but this blue one really stands out. But this blue one really pops to me. Not only is there a texture to the dial, but there is those amazing colors that sort of shimmer and shine as you move the watch around. And I can absolutely imagine that in real life that this is absolutely stunning. Just from the pictures alone, it looks fantastic. And the next one, I'm still going to stick with the Citizen theme. It is another interesting Citizen. It is the Citizen AQ4100-14L. This one has a paper dial, and it has a really interesting effect because of that. I just think it looks really, really nice, really, really interesting, and a little bit different. And it has drawn my attention a number of times whenever I've seen it pop up on a website or on social media. This one comes from the iconic Nature collection. So I believe there's a few others in this collection from Citizen, and they're sort of drawing on nature sort of inspired dials, this one being paper. And number 4 on the list, I had to put this one in because the dial on this is absolutely amazing. It's a watch by Stram. I believe it's a Scandinavian watch company. This one here is the Octopuses, I believe it's called. And what they describe on their website is that this particular texture, this particular look of the dial is inspired by ripples on a lake or a glacier or the seabed, textures of the Norwegian nature. Now there are a few different colors in this one. I particularly like the white and the blue. I think it has this really interesting effect to it. I think it looks really, really pretty. And it's a watch that I'm really tempted to buy myself because it just looks absolutely stunning. And how could I not mention this watch? At number 5, it is the Grand Seiko White Birch. This watch came onto the market in the last 12 months and it has absolutely blown me away to the point where it has absolutely gone onto my Grail watch list. I never thought of a Grand Seiko specifically as on my Grail list, but when I saw this one, I thought, wow, there is something very special about that. There's a lot of special things about it, but that dial is particularly amazing. It has a really interesting silver look to it, and it is inspired by the bark on the birch trees that supposedly surround the sort of Seiko factory or the area where they've sort of designing these watches. And it is absolutely stunning. I think it looks amazing and is one of the key reasons why this watch is now on my grail list. And now we're going to depart from these dials a little bit. It's still about the dial, but it is a different looking dial. It is number 6 on the list. It is the Kaduki. I believe it's called Kaduki. This particular one is the Octopus, and that is called the Octopus. Oh, I hope that is the correct pronunciation because of that octopus that is on this dial. Now, as you can see, it's not so much a dial. It is more of a skeletonized feature, but that octopus appears to be like a big 3D effect that is sort of integrated in amongst that movement. It becomes part of the structure and it just looks absolutely amazing. I think this watch is brilliant. I think it's really, really fun, very, very interesting. And that 3D effect octopus continues around onto the case back, which you can see through, and actually onto the case itself. It is one of the most impressive watches that I've ever actually seen, and it had really drawn my attention, so I really wanted to mention it in this particular video. Now, number 7 on this list is by Hothriches. I hope that is the correct pronunciation, and I hope this is the correct pronunciation of this particular watch. Is the preliminary? It's probably an easy pronunciation of that. I'm just being a bit thick, I think. Preliminary. Now, there's a lot going on here with this particular dial, and I think it is one of the most interesting dials that I've seen. It almost looks like there's been an explosion on the dial, and this dial has fractured out from that explosion. That explosion has left a hole in the dial of the watch itself, exposing part of that movement. And that fractured effect has gone out throughout the dial, even to the point of fracturing some of the numbers around the outside. I think when you look on there between the 8 and 11, the numbers are either fractured and sort of moved apart or completely missing. And I think there is something a little bit special about the look of this one, the design of this one, and this company seems to have some really interesting ideas of cases and dials. And I think this particular one is a type of watch that if you had it in hand, that it would be absolutely amazing and even better than what it looks like in the photos. And number 8 on this list, I'm going to continue with the hard pronunciations. It is a Sarpaniva. It is a watch from a company that every single watch within their collection is absolutely amazing looking. It was even hard for me to pick which particular one out of their collection that I thought that should come onto this list today. The one I picked was the K3 Moon Phase. This one is absolutely super interesting. It has a really interesting pattern on the dial. It really looks really quite interesting when with how the indices float over it, as well as those hands. And what is really interesting is the mixture of precious metals that they've used as well. Apparently on this particular moon phase, as it moves around throughout the month, different precious metals represent different types or different parts of the moon phase itself. And I just think it looks absolutely amazing. I can imagine it's not exactly the most affordable watch, but it is certainly something that when you look at, you think, wow, what an interesting, unique looking design. And the interesting part is that all of their range is like this. They're all different designs, unique designs, and they all look quite amazing. And number 9, I had to include this watch. It is a watch by Seiko Design. It is the Blue Planet. And I know there has been a reasonable amount of content online at the moment about this particular watch, but there's a reason why there has been so much content. It is because it is amazing, it is interesting, it is award-winning. It is something a little bit different, a little bit unique, and it just has some sort of special factor to it. Now, I understand this may not be a watch that somebody wears every single day of their life. This is not their day-to-day beater watch, but there's something interesting about it. There's something different about it, and it really does sort of capture my interests. And whenever I've seen reviews about it, they talk about the quality of it as well. And all my experiences with the Seiko Design watches, absolutely quality, well finished, well put together, and this one I think would be absolutely stunning. And to round out this list at number 10, I'm actually going to show 2 watches, so I'm going to cheat just a little bit, and I'm going to return to the Save the Ocean Seikos. This one here being the Monster, it has an amazing dial. I think it's called the Antarctica. It has a really interesting textures and a blue pattern to it, and has those little penguin footprints on there as well. I really like this one. I like it almost as much as my Great White Shark Edition Seiko. Unfortunately, it doesn't come on all their models. The main one that it comes on is the Monster, and the Monster isn't a watch that really captures my attention, but the dial does. So one day I might get a hold of this one purely just because I love that dial. The next one is the Glacier. I believe it's called a Glacier. I believe it comes out on the Sumo, And this light blue, this sort of ice sort of featured sort of looking dial also looks amazing. And for me, it sort of makes me think a little bit of the white birch off that Grand Seiko. And I think it looks absolutely superb. I am so shocked and amazed by how many amazing dials that Seiko can produce, and at somewhat of an affordable price as well. This watch here, certainly not super cheap, but it was actually very affordable. It was within my price range, and you end up with an amazing watch with an amazing dial. And Seiko, congratulations to you guys for doing such great work in regards to dials. Because if you are a watch collector who loves a good watch dial, but you are also on the more affordable sort of price range of collecting, Seiko is an absolute savior for us to be able to have these amazing dials in our collection. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, I'd absolutely love it if you just click on that subscribe button, and I'd absolutely love it if you stay tuned and see some of my other videos that I have on my channel. Thank you for watching. Hope to see you again soon.